All right, what's up, everyone? It's Andrew Bone here with BamaInsider.com. Just going to get you guys up to speed on what's all been going on with Alabama for the last, for the last couple weeks. Not a lot going on the recruiting front. This is kind of the dead period, so to say. It is a dead period, but at the same time, there's just absolutely nothing going on as far as recruiting is concerned, because this is the time of the year where everybody's so focused in on their upcoming season. College coaches have their teams getting prepared. The recruits, they're out on the field doing 2-a-days or whatever it is. Throughout the month, trying to get prepared for the upcoming football season. So it's just kind of a slow period in terms of recruiting is concerned. No visits are taking place. We don't really see a ton of commitments this time of the year. Now, we sometimes see some kids make decisions before the start of their senior season. So, we may see something happen over the course of the next few weeks. Just have to kind of wait and see what happens. Now, Rivals did release, update their top 250 this week. So that's a little bit of an update. Wasn't really a overhaul, because really the analysts, guys who go out on the road to see all these kids, summer's not really it's busy, but in terms of seeing a major overhaul in the rankings, you just don't see it. It happens more so after senior season, after some all-star games. Now, if they see some guys during the summer that they're like, oh my gosh, we completely missed on him. Whether that's at the 5-star challenge, the opening, maybe it's a team camp like a Florida Friday Night Lights or something like that. Just events that they're able to get to and go and evaluate players. Then they can maybe update those rankings a little bit, because we saw one kid, and there may have been another. The only kid that I really noticed that they got a significant jump in the rankings was Noah Sewell, the linebacker out of Utah, big time linebacker. Was really impressive at the 5-star challenge. He moved up from being a 4-star. He was in the Rivals 100, but went from being a 4-star all the way up to the top 15, I think number 15 overall in the Rivals 100. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about the updated rankings, some of the Alabama guys who made the list, some of the other Alabama targets who are on there. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the kids who I think are going to be making decisions here pretty soon. And then, I may take a few questions after that. But that's pretty much going to be it for today. First off, let me tell y'all about our flash sale that we have going on right now on BamaInsider.com. Now, it's till midnight tonight. So it's Thursday, the 15th. You guys will want to get on there really quick, do this. The flash sale till midnight tonight. You get a $25 gift card to Alumni Hall, so get you some Alabama gear. You get $75 gift card to Adidas, and you get 25% off your Bama Insider subscription. So go on there, get a year subscription. Now, people tell me all the time, well, why do I want to get a subscription to an Alabama site where I can get all this stuff for free? Well, the reason is you go in there, you become part of a community. You build connections with other Alabama fans. You get inside information. We're on there constantly every single day. You guys may get me on this YouTube channel once every couple of weeks, maybe once the season starts, maybe once a week. We update y'all about what's going on. Well, on BamaInsider.com, this is every day. This is every single hour on the hour. If you have a question, you can post on there, ask me a question. I'm going to answer it right away. So it's a great community. Tons of Alabama fans, tons of connections, and I think that's a great thing to do. So go on there, get on that flash sale for new and current subscribers. So even the current subscribers can get in on that flash sale. So let's talk about the Rivals 100. So didn't see a major change. The quarterback, DJ Wagalele, committed to Clemson. He's still number one overall. He's held that number one spot from the very get-go. Very elite quarterback. Brian Breezy, number 2 overall player, in the country. I mean, it's impressive what Clemson's being able to do on the recruiting trail this year. I mean, they've got a chance to sign the top 3 overall players in the country because Justin Flo, the 5-star linebacker out of California, currently rated as the number 3 overall player in the country. I think that Clemson currently leads for him, so they've got a chance to really have an outstanding. They already have an outstanding recruiting class, but maybe a historic recruiting class for Clemson this year. I think in the top 10. Alabama's best chance right now is probably with Jordan Burch. Jordan Burch currently number 4 overall player in the country, and I think he's got an opportunity to really challenge for the number 1 overall spot when all's said and done. He's 6'5", 260-pound defensive end out of Columbia, South Carolina. Now, a lot of people think, it's going to be tough to pull a kid from Columbia, South Carolina, away from the Gamecocks or maybe even Clemson. Well, I certainly think that Alabama, Georgia, along with Clemson and South Carolina, all fighting hard for his commitment. He visited Tuscaloosa back in June, and I really think that Alabama's in the race there. I don't think a decision is going to happen anytime soon. That'd probably be more beneficial for Alabama because that means he'll get back to campus, take an official visit, and just kind of see where things go. But I think Alabama's definitely in the race there. I wouldn't say they're the leader, or I don't even know if anybody could say there's a top 2 right now because he's just one of those kids that doesn't really talk a lot to the media, doesn't let anything out, just says everything's equal when he does. So I think everybody's just kind of having to wait and see what happens with him. Another kid that's interesting, Elias Ricks, number 5 overall in the country, 5-star cornerback, number 1 cornerback in the country. Been committed to LSU for a very long time, I think since last December. I think he actually committed on Christmas Day. Has mentioned taking an official visit to Alabama. Now, I wouldn't put Alabama in there in terms of being a good chance to steal him away from the Tigers. I think the best school that has a chance to flip him is Ohio State. Got just a long-standing relationship with them. But if he makes it over to campus for an official visit, that's something to definitely keep an eye on. So we'll go outside the top 10. Eric Gilbert, number 11. I didn't know if Eric Gilbert would stay as the number 1 tight end. I mean, he's a special talent, but there's 2 tight ends this year that are just really special, Eric Gilbert and Darnell Washington. But Eric Gilbert holds on to the top spot at the tight end position, number 11 overall out of Marietta High School in Georgia. Visited Alabama in late July, and I think Alabama's done a really good job recruiting him because a couple months ago I was telling everyone, this is a Georgia-Tennessee battle. Alabama's kind of in the, right there behind them, but in the end, it's going to be Tennessee or Georgia. Now it seems to be, Georgia and Alabama is possibly the top 2 schools for him right now. I think Alabama's, big need at the position at tight end, really kind of selling him on the fact that they use their tight ends. And, I think he really likes Alabama a lot. So, watch out for Eric Gilbert over the course of the next few months because I think a decision's probably, I would be surprised if a decision did not happen, but by the midway point of his senior season. Now, I'm already getting questions fired in, and we're going to talk about him. Number 13 in the Rivals 100, Zachary Evans. Everyone kind of assumed when Damien George committed to Alabama that would give Alabama a little bit of a leg up, getting his teammate, Zach Evans, the number 1 running back in the country. Then we saw Kendall Milton commit to Georgia last month. Which a lot of people just assumed that Georgia was out of it for Zachary Evans because no way they would get 2 5-star running backs. Well, as of today, I actually made a Futurecast on Rivals. I actually put a Futurecast in on Zachary Evans to Georgia the other day, and I really hate putting in Futurecast early. I like to do them a little bit, more towards when these kids get ready to announce the decision because. I always see people say, oh, well, this guy put in a Futurecast on this player, but then he switched it 17 times between, the time he put it in and the time he announced his decision. I don't like to do that. I like to do it one time, keep it there. And now sometimes, there are some times where we flip them, and I try not to do it more than once. But, with Zach Evans, felt pretty good about going ahead and putting him in as a Futurecast to Georgia. Georgia's done a great job recruiting him. They're trying to get 2 running backs, and pretty amazed at the job that Georgia's done. But as of right now, have him as a Georgia lean. Could see him making a decision here pretty soon. I actually think he's going to make a decision before the start of his senior season. But at the same time, still a long way to go with his recruitment. He hasn't taken any of his official visits. I think he's still going to take all of his visits. I would really watch out for Texas A&M, because if they have a great season, I think that they could really stand the best chance to get his signature in the end. So I do think Alabama's still in the race for him. I think they'll be in the race for him until the end if he does make a decision. But as of right now, leaning towards Georgia. Now, Alabama-wise, who are some of the commitments that made the top 100? Well, Chris Braswell, who's been in the top 100 for since the get-go, has been a 5-star for a long time. Number 23 overall in the Rivals 100. He's a 5-star. Quandarius Robinson, outside linebacker, number 31 overall in the Rivals 100. Let's see here. Phillip Webb, big-time Alabama target, was at Alabama's cookout back in July. He's number 33 overall in the top 100. A big move in the top 100 was Demoy Kennedy out of Theodore High School. Committed to Alabama back in June. Big commitment there for Alabama. Made a big move from outside the top 100 to number 75 overall, just above Drew Sanders, who's number 76. Now, Drew Sanders at 76, a lot of people ask me, well, why didn't he move up much? Well, I don't think he really did a lot this summer. He wasn't seen a lot on the, at camps or anything this summer. So he wasn't going to move up much from where he was. He did drop a little bit, but I think it was more so because some other players moved ahead, that were seen throughout the summer. So I think Drew Sanders has a great chance to move up throughout his senior season. Saw Timothy Smith checking in number 86, big defensive line commitment for Alabama. So I thought that was that was pretty much all of Alabama's commitments who were in there. Plenty of targets and stuff like that. Now, what else is happening on the recruiting trail right now? Well, like I said earlier, not much. It's just kind of slow. Once the season starts, it's going to pick back up with official visits, game visits, coaches hitting the road on Friday nights to see top players and stuff like that. Now, we talked about Zach Evans making a decision here pretty soon. Another Alabama target that I see here, making a decision soon is Xavier Alford, the 4-star safety out of Texas. I've heard so many different things about him, where Alabama was in the driver's seat. Alabama was going to get his commitment. It was pretty much a done deal. And then all of a sudden, it went quiet. He decided to push off his decision. Texas A&M started gaining a lot of steam. People, different recruiting analysts, even analysts in the state of Alabama, saying, oh, well, because Alabama's not in anymore because they're not pushing. Well, that's just, BS. Alabama was pushing for him. They really liked Xavier Alford a lot. I do think that the numbers at the position kind of worried him a little bit, with Alabama having 4 defensive back commitments. So I think it made him look at some other schools and some other schools really kind of, pushing those numbers on him. So I don't think he's going to commit to Alabama. I've been saying Texas A&M, but the latest intel, it's kind of looking like Texas, kind of coming in at the 11th hour, sweeping in, and I think there's a good chance that he commits to Texas, possibly even as early as this week. So watch out for that. But who could be the next commitment for Alabama? I'm looking at Joe Williams, 4-star defensive back out of New Orleans. Is going to be making a decision, out of Baton Rouge. He's going to be making a decision on September the 9th. Like Alabama's chances with him, I think he commits to Alabama then. So keep an eye out on Joel Williams on September the 9th. That's pretty much it in terms of what I wanted to talk about. Wanted just to kind of update y'all real quick on what's going on. I want to take some questions and then get out of here. So let me scroll through some of these questions for you guys real quick, and then we'll be done. All right, John Bosch. Do I think Bama will sign the defensive tackle McKinley Jackson Keyshawn Boot, and Bryce Young. All right, so McKinley Jackson, 4-star defensive tackle out of Mississippi, just named a top 5. Alabama's in it, which it was really no surprise. I think it's Alabama, Ole Miss, A&M, LSU, and Auburn. Likes Alabama, has a great relationship with Brian Baker, the defensive line coach. But the longer he waits, I just don't know what's going to happen with Alabama. Will they end up getting some more defensive tackles between now and when he gets ready to decide? Could easily see him going to Ole Miss if he does continue to wait. But we'll have to wait and see when he gets ready to make a decision. Keyshawn Boot, the 4-star wide receiver, Rivals 100 guy out of Louisiana, has been committed to LSU. Took 2 visits to Alabama, one in June, one in July. Going to take his official visit for the LSU game in November. I'd keep my eye on him. There's no doubt about it. I think there's a lot of interest on his side in Alabama. Alabama really wants him. Alabama's pushing hard for him. Alabama, really needs some receivers. They've got a great receiver class, but I think there's a good chance that he could come on board. And actually, talking about receivers, I forgot to mention one kid who moved into the Rivals 100, Javon Baker. Fell out of the Rivals 100, then jumped back in on this update after a great summer. I think he's number 62 overall in the Rivals 100. So it's a big move for Alabama commitment, Javon Baker. And then Bryce Young, just wait. Let's see what happens. I've been saying for a while, just have to be patient with him. There's a reason Alabama has not taken a quarterback yet in this class. They didn't offer anybody this summer. They're just continuing to chip away with Bryce Young, and obviously a lot will depend on how USC season goes. But as of right now, I probably see him in Alabama's class if USC season goes the way that I think it will. All right. Next, Corey Watts. Do I think Bama will land Jordan Burch? Is there any chance Keely Ringo or Elias Ricks, if one of the other commits to Georgia? Well, like I said earlier, I think Jordan Burch definitely has high interest in Alabama. Top 4, at least, in my opinion. I think it will all come down to the in-home visits and the official visits. But, yeah, certainly a chance. I would not bank on Ringo or Ricks in Alabama's class at all. Will they take official visits to Alabama? Possibly. Ringo named a top 5 and it had Alabama in it. I was really shocked by that because he hasn't visited Alabama since last summer. He may not even make a visit to Alabama. So I would not really count on him, in Alabama's class, at least not at this time. Now, if he makes an official visit and things go really well and he has a change of heart, maybe, but I wouldn't bank on that at all. And like I said, on Ricks, the only school I could see him flipping to right now would be Ohio State. Who will be the second running back to join the class? Well, as we kind of mentioned, I think Zach Evans is going to announce for Georgia. And I think he'll announce before the season starts, or at least sometime soon, maybe in the next month. If that happens, it'll be interesting to see if Alabama goes ahead and takes another running back, because I think they'll continue to recruit Zach Evans. But I would look out for Kyle Edwards at Destrehan High School in Louisiana. And then Jace McClellan out of Aledo High School in Texas, visited this summer. He's committed to Oklahoma. Now, going to be a little bit of tougher flip for him. I think he's pretty solid with the Sooners, but still taking some visits. And but I think he likes Alabama a lot. And his cousin's actually Scooby Carter, freshman DB at Alabama. So Scooby Carter can try to recruit him. Alabama would certainly welcome Jace McClellan in this class. All right, let's see. Will Alabama sign any more in-state players? No. I think they're done in-state. Do I think Drake May has the same talent as Tua? Well, I don't really consider him much of in terms of I was about to say dual threat. Tua is not really a dual threat. I think he's more of a pocket guy. He's more of a drop back passer. I don't see, he rolls out a little bit, but not a ton. I mean, I think Drake May is an elite quarterback. As long as he continues to get better. I mean, this is a kid who, Alabama had a lot of top quarterbacks on campus this summer. A lot of top, 2021 guys. We saw Jalen Milroe commit to Texas, and I think Jalen Milroe was leaning heavily towards Alabama before Drake May committed to Alabama. And Drake was really at the top of Alabama's wish list. That's who they wanted, and they're still going to have to recruit him because North Carolina legacy. If North Carolina does well in the field, they're going to continue to push. But I certainly think that Alabama is extremely happy with their 2021 quarterback commitment in Drake May. Let's see here. What top guys does Bama have the best chance to flip? Well, we'll continue to look at Bryce Young, obviously, quarterback committed to USC. Keyshawn Boot, wide receiver committed to LSU. And Alabama is still heavily recruiting a lot of these kids who are committed to LSU. We mentioned Elias Ricks, but I don't think there's much of a chance there. Jacquelyn Roy, the 4-star defensive tackle. Jamil Burroughs, the 4-star defensive tackle, who's committed to Georgia. I think Alabama's got a really good chance to flip him, and I wouldn't be surprised if something with him happened relatively soon. All right. How are all these programs out recruiting for Alabama for all these 5-stars? Well, it's one of these interesting years where a lot of these 5-stars are deciding to go to Georgia, deciding to go to Clemson. I mean, Alabama's recruiting extremely well. I mean, they've got a top 4 recruiting class in the country right now, and I don't think the recruiting season's over at all. I think they still got a chance to add some 5-stars, and it's still Alabama. I mean, we saw this. I feel like we had this same conversation this time last year, and Alabama ended up signing one of the best classes in Nick Saban's tenure at Alabama. So just be patient, wait and see what happens. But like I said, Georgia and Clemson doing a heck of a job recruiting this year, and it's not going to be easy anymore, guys. I mean, we've all been used to Alabama signing the number 1 class every year. People didn't even follow recruiting because they just knew Alabama was going to sign the top class in the country. Well, there's other competitors out there now: Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, LSU. These guys aren't backing down. So, and I think with Alabama, they're not going away either. So, it's not like Alabama's just being overtaken by everybody else. Alabama's still there. Just be patient. Let's see what happens. Do I think Alabama will sign Phillip Webb? That's a great question. And I think it's a tough question because everyone has just assumed that Phillip Webb is going to Auburn or LSU. Everybody keeps saying Auburn and LSU, but Alabama's right there. They are kind of quietly, I would say, right there at the top, if not the top. Sal Sincer's done a tremendous job recruiting him. He's been a big time target for them for a long time. He made it to Tuscaloosa back in late July. He was on campus in June. He's still taking some visits, but I think Alabama's right there in the mix. I think everyone's saying that it's Auburn or LSU. I think they're completely wrong. I think maybe he goes to one of those 2 schools, but I think Alabama's right there in the mix. I think they're, in my opinion, I think they're one of the top 3 schools in the mix for him right now. Let's see. Scrolling through. Sorry, guys. Do I think Bama will sign Gilbert or Darnell Washington? Eric Gilbert or Darnell Washington? Well, I think it's a must. I think they've got to get one of those guys. They have one tight end commitment, Caden Clark, but it's a very much needed position right now. Right now, if I had to choose, I would say in terms of who they have a better chance to get, I would go Gilbert, but still very early. Both those guys, Gilbert might decide in the next couple months or next month, and Washington's going to wait a little bit longer. So we'll wait until after the official visit with him. But yeah, I think Alabama has a good chance to get at least one of those guys. Is Alabama still recruiting tight end Theo Johnson? They are. Is 4-star out of Canada. I think Ontario. They are recruiting him, but he hasn't really said a lot about Alabama and hasn't visited Alabama. So we'll see if he makes a visit to Alabama this fall, but they are recruiting him. Any news on Jay Williams, the receiver from Alabama? I think you mean E.J. Williams out of Central High School. No, I mean, he's announcing his decision later on this month. think he goes to Clemson. Alabama, and I feel like I've been asked this, and no offense to you, I think that you may have just not seen this, but I've asked a question on EJ Williams every single month, or every single week we're on here. Alabama just hasn't pushed for him. Alabama hasn't really gone after EJ Williams as much as some other programs has, and I know some people think they have, that they really haven't. They just haven't pushed for him. I think maybe if they would have made a push for him, they would have gotten him, but they just never did. They have their receivers that they really like, that are committed, and they've got their key targets that are still out there. Guys like Xavier Henderson, Brian Robinson, Arian Smith, Keyshawn Boot. Those are Alabama's top 4 receiver targets. They've been Alabama's top 4 receiver targets outside of the guys who are committed for a long time. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect EJ Williams to go anywhere other than Clemson right now. Who are the top remaining defensive linemen for Alabama to sign? Well, there's a lot of guys still out there. I mean, we mentioned McKinley Jackson as one of Alabama's top tier targets. Jordan Birch, still out there, obviously. I think Alabama has probably a great shot to flip Jamil Burroughs from Georgia. There's still a few other guys out there they're recruiting, and you just have to kind of wait and see how the season unfolds, because you could get some guys on campus that you weren't expecting. A few years ago, there was a kid that just happened to decide to go to the Alabama-Michigan game. Wasn't even I say wasn't on Alabama's radar. He's probably on Alabama's radar, but we never really talked about him as an Alabama target. And he ends up going to the Alabama-Michigan game, liking what he saw from Alabama, so deciding to go on an official visit, and then all of a sudden flipped his commitment from Texas to Alabama, and that was A'Shawn Robinson. So, you never know if something like that may happen down the road. And I think Alabama likes to be patient. They don't like to just take anybody's commitment. They like to wait, see kind of what happens throughout the season. Because you never know what may happen with coaching changes at certain schools, whether that's a head coach, a position coach, a recruiting coach. Anything's possible. So yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of defensive linemen that are still out there that Alabama's very much interested in. All right. What lower ranked Alabama commitments will end up being the next Wallace Gilberry? Well, it's hard to say. Last year I was really praising DJ Dell, and I think I got that one right, because I love DJ Dell. He was such a special defensive lineman at his size. This year, obviously there's some 3-star guys in the class, and I never like to whenever I say a 4-star kid is, he can be really special, but obviously I love Drew Sanders, but I think he's a 5-star type talent, but I'd watch out for Xavier Hill. He's only played football for 1 year. This is going to be his second year, offensive lineman. I think he can really develop into a great player at the college level. 6'5", 320 pounds, moves extremely well for his size, and just continuing to learn the position. So watch out for Xavier Hill down the road. Let's see. Who do I have Alabama having a better chance with, Xavier Henderson or Arian Smith? Tough to say. I mean, Alabama had both those kids on campus this summer. I think both of them are going to take official visits before they make a decision. Right now, I think Arian Smith is leaning towards Georgia, but he's still going to take visits. Xavier Henderson has a lot of interest in Alabama. A lot of people kind of assumed he would be committed to Clemson by now, but still out there, still going to take a visit. So tough to say. I mean, you just got to get both those guys on campus. Right now, I probably wouldn't predict either one to Alabama, but if they can get them back on campus, continue to recruit them, continue to chip away, they're going to have a chance. How good is Jamarian Latham, 3-star defensive tackle from Pickens County? Actually, he is coached by former Alabama tight end Michael Williams, also from Pickens County. I think he's really good. I mean, I think he's got a chance to, continue to get better. He's about 6'3", 275, 280 pounds. I think he's probably going to need a year or two once he gets to Alabama to kind of develop. But he was a 1A defensive lineman or lineman of the year last year Great year last year. I think he's going to build on that this year. So I think, I think he's a very good player. Will Bama sign Jacquelyn Roy? Probably not. I mean, I think LSU is going to have a really bad year. He's committed to LSU twice already now. He's from Baton Rouge. That's going to be really tough for him to flip unless LSU just flops this year. So no, not at this time. Are there any offensive tackles in this class? Yes, Damien George, 6'7", 350 pounds, out of North Shore High School in Houston. Zachary Evans' teammate. Are there any more offensive linemen in the offensive tackles in this class? Probably not. I mean, I think Alabama's pretty set on the position. Now, there's another kid, Jonah Monheim, out of California, that they're still recruiting. That they want to get on campus for an official visit. I think he's leaning towards Oklahoma, but Alabama's still trying to work on getting him on campus for an official. Marcus Dumerville, out of Fort Lauderdale. He's kind of in the mix. I mean, I think Alabama really hasn't made a tremendous push for him, but if he continues to have a good senior season, we could see Alabama push for him down the road. How are Slade Bolden and Major Tennyson doing in camp? I do not cover the team, so you're going to have to ask Tony or Kyle on the Bama Insider message board about that. Does Alabama take another inside linebacker? Are they in it for anyone other than Jordan Banks? Inside linebacker wise, we talk about Justin Flo, and Justin Flo named the top 4 recently that did not include Alabama. Be interested to see if he ends up possibly making an official visit to Alabama. He had one set up for September the 20th, but I don't know if that visit's happening anymore. His top 4: Clemson, Georgia, Oregon, and Miami. Kind of surprised by Miami being in there over Alabama, but his relationship was with Tosh Lapoy, and I think his connection with Alabama kind of died down with that. Now, has Alabama stopped recruiting him? No. They're still recruiting him. They're going to try to get him on campus. Noah Sewell was on campus back in June, and he has Alabama in his top 8. I'd actually be surprised if they had it if they make his top 5, but you never know. It's possible that he makes it back, but can't see either one of those guys in the class right now. Jordan Banks, best bet. All right. Stalker Interior decorating. Great pictures on the wall, Andrew. Thanks. I probably need to update them a little bit. Some of these are, a little older. All right. Any player that Bama is not recruiting that you wish they were? I don't know. I remember a couple years ago, this kid. I was blown away by him at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge. I was just like, this kid is unbelievable, and he was from Nashville, and I was like, yeah, God, this kid's got to be, heavily recruited by every school in the country, and one school that just wasn't pushing for him for some reason. I never understood why it was Alabama, and I think he actually I think he wanted to go to Alabama early on in his recruitment, but they just never pushed for him, and then he ends up going to Florida State, and that was Jalen Ramsey. I never understood why Alabama made a late push for him, but I think if they would have gotten on him very early and heavily recruited him, they would have gotten him. All right. Will Bama take 2 quarterbacks next year? Yeah, I think that's what they would like to do. Obviously they've got one, and they're trying to get Bryce Young this year. But yeah, I think they'll try to take 2 next year. Who is a must-have recruit, must-have commit that Bama does not currently have? I think it's got to be Eric Gilbert. I mean, I think it's just an absolute must to get him in this class. I think, and then, maybe another pass rusher like Phillip Webb. I think those 2. Everybody looks at Alabama's recruiting class and says, "Oh wow, they've got some great pass rushers," but you can never have enough. And I think Phillip Webb's certainly a big time target for them. but yeah, I think Eric Gilbert. If I had to pick one guy as a must get, and maybe I might even toss in Bryce Young. With Tua, most likely going to be leaving after this season. I think Bryce Young's going to be an important target for them as well. Who are the top remaining defensive back targets? Good question. We've seen some guys kind of fall off the board. Ethan Pouncey was a pretty big target for them, and he just committed to Texas. Joel Williams, as I mentioned, is going to be committing on September the 9th. So he's a big target. I think he'll commit to Alabama. Nadab Joseph, one of the top JUCO guys. He's taking care of business in the classroom. I think as long as he takes care of business in the classroom, I think he ends up in Alabama's class again. So we'll wait and see what happens with those guys. I think Xavier Alford, as I mentioned earlier, I think he ends up going to Texas this week. Even though everybody was thinking it was A&M, I think he ends up committing to Texas this week instead. Let's see. Yes or no? Does Bama get booed? I don't know, guys. I think Alabama's definitely in it, but I can't say yes or no just yet. We got to let this process play out. We got to let him take his official visits, see how the season goes. He's also going to watch and see how LSU's offense goes this season. If they're getting the ball to receivers, and he's probably going to be happy with it. If they're not, he goes to the Alabama LSU game at Bryant-Denny Stadium and sees Tua pass for 300 yards, and LSU not have a receiver with more than 50 yards, and there's a good chance that he's going to end up wanting to go to Alabama instead. So, I'm not going to say yes or no just yet. Best recruit that you have seen that wasn't a 5-star? God, there's a lot of them. How long do you have? C.J. Mosley, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram. A lot of guys. A lot of guys that we fought for. You don't. Even though some of these guys don't end up being 5-stars, it doesn't mean there's people behind the scenes that aren't fighting for them to be 5-stars. Because it's like every single year we're saying this guy's a 5-star, this guy's a 5-star, this guy's a 5-star, and sometimes they don't make it to the 5-star status; they just stay at 4-stars. But yeah, I've seen so many guys. Amari Cooper. That's probably the biggest one. I never understood how Amari Cooper didn't get rated a 5-star because. Every time we go to these All-American games or whatever they may be, and you see a kid just dominate, those kids usually make it to 5 stars. And I remember being at the Under Armour All-American game and being down at practice and watching Amari just dominate every single practice. There were 5-star DBs he was going up against every single day at practice, just working them. And just stayed at 4-star. I never understood that. Now, he moved up. He was a very high 4-star in the top 100, but never understood why he wasn't a 5-star. Who does Drew Sanders remind you of? I mentioned this on the Bama Insider board yesterday. What's his name? The kid from Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys, Leighton Van, whatever. I can't say his last name, but the Leighton kid from Dallas Cowboys. That's who he reminds me of. I was watching his film the other day, and that's who immediately stuck out to me. Let's see. If Zach Evans goes elsewhere, does Bama take George? Yes, they do. But he may, Damien George may end up looking at some other schools. He's taking some other visits, but I think he's pretty solid with Alabama, regardless. Do I expect Alabama to sign 28 players total? Yeah, probably around that number. They're going to go over 25. No doubt about that. But yeah, I would say around 28. All right, guys, we're about at the 40-minute mark. I'm going to get out of here today. Let's see. Who's the guy that didn't pass the eye test as a 5-star player? Yeah, I'd have to really go back and look at that. Ask me on the Bama Insider message board, and I'll tell you. That's going to be it for today, guys. Like I said, flash sale on Bama Insider right now. If you want to be part of our community, love to have you over there. You get questions from me every single day, answers from me every single day. I'm not going to ask you questions. I might, but come on there, get on the flash sale. It's until midnight tonight. You get a $25 gift card to Alumni Hall, get a $75 gift card to Adidas, and you get 25% off to Bama Insider subscription. So that's for new and old subscribers. So join. And if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, just go to outside, go to the Bama Insider YouTube channel, click subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. That's going to be it for today. Hope to see you on the Bama Insider message board, and we'll try to catch up with y'all again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.